Hello, my name's Tom Carhill. The date is the 21st of October 2013. I'm just looking at an article that comments on a Daily Mail article that's come out recently about Jimmy Savile. Now, this article about the Mail article is by someone called Chris Spivey, S-P-I-V-I-V-E-Y, and he does lots of good articles on a wide range of things, but he's very, very quick off the mark in calling, calling suspicious things out very, very fast, often before anybody else. Now, I'll leave the link of this on the description bar, so you'll be able to have a look at it, and I'll try and get the Daily Mail one as well. Right now, he doesn't say it's about Amanda Holden, and I didn't recognise her to start with, but then when I look back, there's a picture of her when she was younger, so I didn't recognise that she had different makeup on and stuff than she wears now. Anyway, he's called the article "Jim's Still Fixing It," and he says it's the Daily Chimp. That's what he that's what he refers to as the Daily Mail. Right, it says here, and I think his instinct's probably right. This looks like another of the McAlpine-esque tactics. You accuse yourself of something to sort of like deflect attention from something else. Obviously, in this instance, Jimmy Savile's not here to defend himself, and there's a very, very, very strong theme about trying to get him to be known as somebody who was a bit forward with young women, and he probably shagged some 15-year-old or maybe someone who was 14, and most people don't even really think there's anything particularly wrong with that. Whereas they do think there's something incredibly wrong with like having sex with like little children of 7 and stuff like that, and raping them and all that type of stuff, rather than, because someone could be 14, you wouldn't even know they were 14, they could be 18, couldn't they? Anyway, well, here is a non-story if ever I saw one, sort of anyway. Amanda Gosh I'm Lovely Holden claims Jimmy Savile chatted her up when she was 19. He didn't grab hold of her or try and rape her, he just said he'd like to give her one. No crime there. And since she was a nobody back then, I imagine at 19, and a wannabe, she didn't tell him to fuck out of it. Mind you, she doesn't give much important detail out at all, preferring to dwell on trivialities. However, there is a reason behind this story. You see, like I wrote the other day, the powers that be, and he always puts TB, that's the powers that be, are trying to portray Savile as an old lech, a bit naughty with the 14 and 15-year-olds, but most of the women were overage, but not rotten to the core. Cue Amanda Holden, former blind date contestant, Miss Les Dennis, an upgrade to the first bigger name that came along, who in this case was Neil Morrissey. Bye-bye, Les, you loser. I don't really understand that. A field day for... right, did she go out in there or something? I don't know. A field day for the press followed, but any publicity is good publicity, followed by a run of acting jobs. Since she has no real talent, at least as far as I can see, I would imagine that she did what she had to get fame. Let's just hope that Hip Hop Holden doesn't mention anything about Savile's penchant for rape. Rape by anyone else is fine, as long as Jim the jovial jester wasn't involved. Now the question is, did she really meet Savile, or is she just another nonce protecting gatekeeper? I mean, as far as I can see, she had no business being in Leeds when she claimed she was. I always get suspicious when there is a lack of detail. She says that she was in hospital because she sliced her finger, which needed stitching. There is even details of the lack of pain she felt, yet no one thought to get a photo of the scarred finger. Holden claims she was in Leeds with her boyfriend that day, yet he is only referred to by his initials, GB, like for Great Britain. I find this strange, because Holden was unheard of then, and I imagine so was he. He still is, for that matter. Sorry, I find it strange. Holden's Yeah, right, okay. So why not refer to him as Gary or George or whatever his name was? After cutting her finger, the story gets decidedly weirder. According to the chimp, GB's brother, GB was my boyfriend at the time, was a doctor at Leeds General Infirmary, so he whisked me into hospital, stitched up the wound and went to get some more painkillers. Are you having that? I'm not. Still, perhaps she was born in Leeds or something. No. Holden was actually born into a fairly well-to-do middle-class family in Hampshire. Her old man was a naval officer. Just saying. Just saying. When she was 16, the family moved to Bournemouth, where she stayed until she was 18, when she enrolled at Mount View, the prestigious Performing Arts College in Woodford Green, London. I would imagine that once she'd enrolled that she lived in London, being that it's a fair hike between Bournemouth and Woodford Green. It's also a fair fucking hike from Woodford Green to Leeds, but obviously that isn't to say that she wasn't in West Yorkshire on the day in question. However, this would have been 1990, and before she made her first ever TV appearance as a contestant on Blind Date the following year. After that, she did fuck all until 1994, yet she makes mention twice in the article that she had heard rumours about Savile having slept with, surprise, a 14-year-old girl. Note the words slept as opposed to raped. Now, I suppose that being at stage school, she could have heard a rumour, but I have to tell you, I'm very sceptical. After all, David Icke was at the BBC with Savile in the 1980s, but didn't expose the sick fuck until 1995. Anyway, as coincidence would have it, GB's brother, Dr. B, had stitched Holden's finger. No waiting casualty for 3 or 4 hours for Amanda, and had fucked off to help himself to the drugs cabinet, leaving Holden in a cubicle with the curtains drawn. I assume that she was in the hospital's massive casualty department with her heavily bandaged hand to protect the finger when Savile theatrically pulled back the curtain. We know he had to open the curtain because Honest Holden mentions it twice. Now, it's undoubtedly true that Savile got away with murder whilst at his various hospitals, but I find it hard to believe that even he would be allowed to freely wander around casualty, willy-nilly pulling back any curtain that took his fancy. But what do you know? Holden then says that Savile made a joke about her trying to commit suicide because slicing your finger was a common method of suicide in Leeds back in late 1980s, early 1990s. Moreover, Savile obviously couldn't come up with a better opening line, having only been in show business for 40 years at this stage. So having struck lucky by finding pretty 19-year-old Amanda Holden in the cubicle as opposed to poorly Pete, riddled with infectious scabies scabs, the DG thought he would capitalise on this good fortune, and as such came out with that suave chat-up line that was, "Can I give you a gynecological exam?" Right, yeah, okay. Well, after my earlier doubts, I gotta say that it sounds perfectly plausible to me. And if she's telling the truth, so what? A pretty 19-year-old wannabe starlet desperate for fame, a rich old celebrity, no groping took place, just a lewd comment. Worst things happen at sea. And at the end of the day, isn't that the kind of behaviour all egotistical rich old men are guilty of? Seems Jim can fix it, even from 6 foot under. Vile old cunt. Right, so that was that. Yeah, I don't know what I make of it. I think he's good at spotting these things, and yeah, all these people who are on the telly and they haven't got any talent. You know, obviously they've occasionally got to do something to sort of justify themselves being there. So I think, yeah, he looks pretty good. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. And I do think there is definitely a massive push to make people think that the Jimmy Savile thing's a lot less than what it was, and that he was only dealing with like almost old girls, not little kids, not little boys and little girls who wouldn't come up to your waist height. Anyway, thanks for listening. Let me know what you think. Bye bye.